Silicon Valley is famous for its world-changing innovations, but it's also the birthplace of some of the most convincing lies in modern business. This isn't a story about a small mistake or a failed startup. This is the story of a massive, calculated deception, one that fooled powerful investors, major partners, and the entire world. It's a tale of how ambition, when unchecked, can build an empire on nothing but air. Stick around, because this is what really happened inside Silicon Valley's biggest scam. The story always begins with a promise, and this one was irresistible. The company claimed it had cracked the code to the future. They pitched cutting-edge technology that would revolutionize an entire industry. They promised unprecedented efficiency, a solution so brilliant, so advanced, that no one else had even come close. On paper, it looked like a sure thing. The pitch decks were a work of art, filled with sleek graphics and bold projections. The vision they sold didn't just sound possible. The founder, a charismatic visionary, spoke with such conviction that you couldn't help but believe. They painted a picture of a better world, powered by their technology. And in a place like Silicon Valley, where everyone is chasing the next big thing, this company looked like the biggest thing of all. Everyone, from seasoned venture capitalists to the general public, wanted in. They weren't just selling a product, they were selling a dream. And for a while, the world bought it completely. With a promise that big, the money came flooding in, and it came fast. We're talking about a rapid, almost dizzying rise. One funding round after another closed in record time, each one bigger than the last. Major, well-respected investors lined up to write huge checks, eager to be part of what they believed was the next Google or Apple. Their names added a stamp of legitimacy that was almost impossible to question. Soon, major partnerships with established, household name companies were announced, further cementing the illusion of success. The company's valuation didn't just climb, it skyrocketed into the billions, seemingly overnight. They were on the cover of magazines, celebrated as the blueprint for modern innovation. Success didn't just appear to be happening, it felt like a force of nature. But while the world was applauding their meteoric rise, a different story was unfolding behind the scenes. The foundation of this incredible empire wasn't just weak, it was already cracking. The technology they boasted about didn't work as promised. The deadlines they celebrated publicly were being missed internally. The pressure to keep the illusion going was building, and the first signs of a deep, systemic problem were beginning to show. To keep the truth from getting out, the company cultivated a culture of silence. It wasn't just an unspoken rule. It was a deliberate strategy. Inside the company walls, asking tough questions was not just discouraged, was seen as a sign of disloyalty. Employees were often siloed, working in isolated teams with limited information about what other parts of the company were doing. This meant that very few people had a complete picture of the problems. Information was controlled from the top down with a strict need-to-know policy. Transparency was a word used in press releases. But inside, fear was the real motivator. Employees saw what happened to those who spoke up. They were marginalized, pushed out, or fired. The message was clear. Your job depends on your silence. And when you have a mortgage to pay and a career to protect, that's a powerful threat. So most people, even those who had serious doubts, stayed quiet. They put their heads down, did their work, and hoped for the best, contributing to a conspiracy of silence that allowed the deception to grow larger every day. So how did they keep the lie going for so long? By faking progress. The public-facing demos were always flawless. At major conferences and for important investors, the technology appeared to work perfectly. These carefully staged presentations were designed to impress, to generate excitement, and to secure the next round of funding. But the private results told a completely different story. Behind closed doors, the product was failing constantly. The cutting-edge technology was unreliable, inaccurate, and nowhere near ready for the real world. So, what did they do? Instead of acknowledging the failures and going back to the drawing board to fix the fundamental problems, the company focused on managing appearances. Deadlines that were impossible to meet were simply pushed back with creative excuses when data from tests didn't support their claims. That data was conveniently adjusted or cherry-picked to paint a rosier picture. Outright failures were buried, hidden from investors, partners, and even most employees. The entire operation shifted from innovation to illusion. Their most impressive product wasn't technology. It was the story they were selling. As the lies piled up, red flags started popping up everywhere, but they were surprisingly easy to ignore. Independent experts in the field began to raise serious concerns, publishing articles and analyses that questioned the company's bold claims. They pointed out inconsistencies in the science and the unlikelihood of their technological breakthroughs. Early partners who had been promised a revolutionary product started asking for proof. They wanted to see real-world data, not just another slick presentation. They wanted to test the technology for themselves, but they were often met with delays and excuses. Yet, the momentum of success is a powerful force. The company was already a media darling, a Silicon Valley unicorn. No investor wanted to be the one to pull out and miss out on a potential 100-fold return. No one wanted to be the person who admitted they might have been wrong. The one who stopped believing in the dream. That hesitation, that collective desire to believe in the face of mounting evidence would become incredibly costly for everyone involved. The house of cards could only stand for so long. The collapse began when regulators finally stepped in. Spurred by whistleblower reports and investigative journalism, government agencies launched official investigations. Suddenly, the company's claims were no longer being judged by breathless headlines, but by the cold, hard standards of legal and scientific scrutiny. And under that pressure, the story changed fast. The incredible claims they had made for years couldn't be supported with any credible evidence. The documents they provided didn't match reality. The numbers didn't add up. One by one, the major partnerships that had given them so much credibility began to dissolve. The big-name companies that had once proudly associated with them now scrambled to distance themselves. With the truth coming out, the flow of money stopped instantly. Funding dried up. The once unstoppable valuation plunged to zero. The scam was finally, irrevocably exposed for the entire world to see. The illusion shattered, and all that was left was the wreckage. When the dust settled, the damage was immense. The fallout wasn't just financial, it was human. Talented and idealistic employees who had dedicated years of their lives to the company saw their careers destroyed. Their resumes were now stained by their association with a massive fraud, and many struggled to find work again. Investors, from massive venture capital firms to smaller individual backers, lost hundreds of millions, sometimes billions of dollars. All that money, which could have funded real innovation, had vanished into a black hole of deceit. But the damage went even deeper. The scandal eroded trust in the entire tech industry. It made everyone more skeptical, more cynical. How many other visionaries were selling a lie? The company that once symbolized the pinnacle of Silicon Valley innovation became a cautionary tale, permanent warning. Sign for what happens when ambition goes unchecked. In the end, this scandal revealed a painful and often ignored truth about Silicon Valley and the nature of hype. In an environment that celebrates bold visionaries and disruptive ideas, belief can sometimes become more powerful than evidence. The fear of missing out can be so strong that it blinds even the smartest people to obvious warning signs. And when that hype is allowed to replace honesty, when the story becomes more important than the reality, even the biggest and most celebrated success stories can turn out to be completely fake. It's a lesson that reminds us to always ask the tough questions, to demand proof, and to remember that true innovation is built on substance, not just a good story. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world.